Hello everyone, and welcome back to Doctor Who's Crown Jewels. We're now on to Season 6, and second verse same as the first. What I'm trying to say is, the second Doctor's third season is his weakest, much like the first Doctor's. However, it's still pretty damn strong. Sure, it has the two duds of the era in it, but without them, it would be just as high as the other two, if not higher. And that is thanks to having 3 Crown Jewels candidates that are most of the season. So let's start out with the shortest story. The Mind Robber. Now, I will have to give context. In the Dominators, the TARDIS was being buried in lava by a volcano erupting. That kind of caused the TARDIS to malfunction a bit, so that they had to go out of time in order to solve it. But then weird stuff starts happening, with Jamie and Zoe thinking they're going home, these weird robots appearing, and then they end up in the land of fiction where they meet the likes of Gulliver, Rapunzel, a Minotaur, a unicorn, a superhero from the 21st century. And so many surreal events occur to do with fiction and the power of words and writing. And it's just so fascinating. The Mind Robber's biggest strength is its creativity, in my opinion, and it manages to solve all the problems it's challenged with in an adequate way. It does that in spades, and it's honestly perfection, I would say. So after watching this, I decided, do you know what? I'm going to watch the honourable mention for this, The Invasion. And then I watched The Invasion. It's no longer an honourable mention. So, it's an 8-parter, but it doesn't waste any time at all. There's something on the dark side of the moon. Something's up with international electromagnetics. There's an invasion fleet arriving. Tobias Vaughan wants power over everything. And it turns out the Cybermen are the ones invading. And that's just the first half. Then there's all of the functionality surrounding how the invasion force is actually mobilizing throughout the second half. And by the end, Vaughan has been betrayed by the Cybermen. We do see the return of the Brigadier, and his involvement in the plot is to make everything go a lot smoother for the Doctor and co, which is a good thing. I think I would have been very tired if he wasn't there and the Doctor and co had to explain everything to a military organisation. In a similar way to Professor Travers in The Web of Fear, he's there to make sure the plot goes smoothly. Just in general, I like the Brigadier's presence, and he's a great character to have around. The Invasion is a perfect demonstration for, well, every character involved. Of course, there's new characters such as Isabel, who is a very dashing feminist with her photography skills and, well, it's her photography passion, really, in being incorporated into the plot in a very naturalistic way. But you've also got Tobias Vaughan, played by returning actor Kevin Stoney, who previously played Mavic Chen in The Daleks Master Plan, which I covered in Crown Jewels of Season 3. And just like that, he delivers a powerful performance. I would argue his performance as Vaughan is better. I prefer Mavic Chen as a character, but the performance Stoney gives to Vaughan is a lot stronger, in my opinion. It's because he's given the chance to be the centre stage villain for a lot of it, rather than the guy who's working for the Daleks. But the main TARDIS team are brilliant as well. Jamie showcases that although he's not fully aware or understanding of every single technological innovation, he at least is capable of adapting to the scenario and learning, okay, so I know what's going on, and he does display some form of intelligence. And Zoe showcases her logical brain thinking a lot of the time, and at one bit decides to destroy a computer because she was annoyed with it, and she does it by giving it a bunch of maths that it can't handle. And the Doctor's great too. I mean, there's little I can really say about Pat Troughton that hasn't already been said. He's easily one of the best Doctors of all time, and demonstrates a perfect understanding of the character and a perfect performance of the character as a whole. He is the Doctor. Everything that you think about that is a good quality of the Doctor, he is the embodiment of. Before I get into the final Crown Jewel of the season, let me state my honourable mention, The Seeds of Death. It is a very good Icewire story, which utilises the excitement of rushing towards landing on the moon, and all the technological progress we've made with that. What if that suddenly went obsolete? Smart plot, brilliant themes, love it. The War Games. If you have brain cells, you are expecting this. then again it's in the thumbnail. This video will not do this story justice. It just won't. I honestly think it's good to go into the War Games completely blind. If you already know what happens in it, I'm going to continue talking about it and why I think it's brilliant. If not, end the video now, watch the War Games. It's a 10-parter, all 10 parts are worth it. This is more than just the final story of the season. This is the end of an era of eras. This feels like it would be the perfect endpoint for Doctor Who as an entire show up until that point. It's the Doctor fighting injustice. It's the Doctor fighting people who are trying to take advantage of the human race and conquer the universe with that. It shows the dark side of humanity. It's a commentary on the dark side of humanity, but also how when we're unified, we're even stronger than when we're divided. The villains literally being called warlords makes a lot of sense, considering realistically everyone championing war is the bad guy in a sense. It's not exactly that subtle, but it's also not exactly in your face either, because they're just elements of the plot. I love how you learn more and the plot unravels slowly but surely. When you think you've hit a massive turning point, there's still a lot more to be uncovered about the plot. And the fact that it's being at least partially orchestrated by a member of the Doctor's own people really adds to the tension. We've only really seen that with the monk before. It not only adds tension with the fact that the Doctor knows kind of what's going on and is kind of frightened and not really open to talk about what's going on, which is weird for this incarnation of the Doctor, but also it's tense for the villains. Their plan is starting to fall apart due to their own division within them. The othering of the war chief simply because he recognizes another one of his own people are there, and it causes mistrust, and tensions are built and built and built. And the fact that the story ends after 9 parts realistically, because Time Lords intervene, fair enough, but that gives the final part realistically more weight, because the Time Lords are not even the bad guys. They're just this uber powerful race that the Doctor's scared of, who he ran away from, and now he's paying the price for his crimes against their laws. Laws which he is justifiably claiming are unjust. Bringing a brilliant and compelling end to his character, and easily one of the most emotional companion departures in the entire show. I cannot watch Jamie and Zoe's departure without tearing up as soon as Jamie says, "I'll never forget you," you know. It's genuinely saddening, because I'm emotionally invested in these characters. Like, they haven't really developed much, but, you know, they still had experiences they'll never forget. I just feel so emotionally destroyed when watching part 10. It might easily be my favourite individual episode of the entire show. I mean, the War Games isn't by no means my favourite story. It's one of them. It's so highly up there. It's not only well written, well characterised, well shot. I honestly think, bar some iffy racial implications here and there, like, for example, the sole black character dying, and then a Mexican character, because he's the foreign one, is being obtuse, let's just say. Yeah, those aren't necessarily the most comfortable things, but they're so incredibly minor to the story as a whole. But the long and the short of it is, this story, I would say, is a magnum opus. Terrence Dicks and Malcolm Hulke did such a good job on this that, honestly, not much can compete. Of course, there are some stories, heck, even stories in Troughton's era, that I personally prefer more. But this story not only deals with excellent themes, but also is structured so well, tells its story so compellingly, is a befitting endpoint to the show when they didn't really know if they were gonna make another one. There's such an air of finality about this. Even the first cliffhanger foreshadows the Doctor's execution. It's beautiful. It's genuinely beautiful. It is a crown jewel of season 6. Arguably the crown jewel. But I felt bad not including the other two. But what do you think? What are your thoughts? Are you mad that I didn't mention Milo Clancy once and not mention that the Space Pirates is the best thing ever as a result? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Feel free to speculate what may be a crown jewel in the future. I've been Matt, and I'll see you next time for the first season of Colour Doctor Who.